Good morning, students. In this class, we are going to see the IK handle tool, which is called as Spline Ik. This Spline Ik is used to rig the backbone structure of a human or a living being character, and mostly of a human or biped character, and also for the complex rigging like tail of a lengthy tail of an creature or something like that. Okay, so this spline Ik we are going to use today to see how to apply it over the backbone structure of a human rig. Okay, so I hope all of you have done up to this, and after finishing this technique, I will give you another character in which you will apply all the techniques up to date what we did. Then you submit for homework. Okay, this character it is just for testing. It is like we are applying all the techniques. One more character I will give you. Do it once again because you are doing it only once. You are watching the video and you are doing it only once. So it is a practice exercise what you are doing now, and for your submission of the homework I will give a different character model. In that you apply all and everything, and I will give a deadline soon. Okay, then after that we will see the facial rigging, right? So now we will start with the backbone, the spline. Okay, so for that we are going to turn off the skin, and we are going to the skeleton menu under rigging tab. There you can see a tool called create IK spline handle. Okay, reset the tool, keep it by default. Okay, so I'm going to click on the neck, lower neck, till one joint above to the root joint. Okay, till here I'm going to click, and you can see a IK handle is being created. Okay, so this is not like what usual IK handle which we used to create for hand and leg. Okay, the working method of this spline Ik is different. Like it automatically creates nodes. Using that we can control the bone structure. Okay, so it is like we cannot directly create controller curves and to give constraints and all these things, right? So how to convert or how to get the nodes out of this IK handle, and how to connect the nodes to the backbone, because we are having 1 2 3 4 backbones, okay, and 5, okay, in the neck. Usually at sometimes we may used to connect up to here. Okay, we may not connect up to the neck, but it is good to connect up to the neck because here we have few more joints. If we connect up to the chest or collar joint or this bone, this part may not respond properly. Okay, that is, see, it is not compulsory that 1 2 3 4 joints is necessary. Okay, you can keep how many joints you want, okay, according to the length of the character, according to the proportion of the character. Even I can have one more joint here, that is not the problem. See, now I am going to extract the nodes out of this spline Ik. Okay, so for that, when you create an Ik handle, spline Ik handle, a curve is also being created within that spline Ik. Okay, first we need to select the curve. So for that I am going here, I am turning off all the elements. Okay, actually this is called selection mask. I am going to turn off all the selection objects. Okay, I am going to turn off the joints, because see, if I'm turned off the joints, I have turned off the joints. Now you can see I cannot select the joints. Okay, I have turned off what deformers. Actually we don't have deformers now. We are going to create a deformer. Okay, so the surface of the object, okay, anything which we cannot, it is there, it cannot be selected. I cannot select anything. So I'm going to turn on the curve, which means I can select only the curves. You can see, okay, I can select only the curves but still not the bones. So you can see here, if I select here, you can see a curve has been selected, okay, which is actually invisible. Sorry, yes, which is actually invisible or present within inside the joint. Okay, so I'm just keeping turn on only this select curve objects. So I'm selecting this and simply dragging this, only that curve is being selected. Okay, now how to extract the nodes? Okay, actually you can see here, one second, yes, edit joints. Okay, sorry. Okay, I will show you. Like when I am selecting the curve, right, you can see the control vertex. Yes, I can select the control vertex now. Okay, you can see how many control vertex: 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, even we can increase the control vertex so that we can have more number of nodes distributed evenly. Okay, for that we need to increase, or what, we need to go to skeleton, and creating Ik spline handle itself, we need to increase the number of spans. Okay, so that we can get more number of nodes, but as of now this is okay for us. So this vertex points, if I select one of them and I'm selecting that, you can see when I'm moving it, you can see my spline or spinal cord or the spine or the backbone is moving. Okay, see, I'm turning on the skin, you can see the effect, right? I hope all of you are getting this effect. Okay, in that curve. Now this nodes, we need to create it, or we need to convert it some other object, and with that object we are going to constrain the controller curves. Okay, so which object or which kind of attribute we can convert this nodes, because we cannot directly constrained with the vertex. Okay, it will deform the shape. Okay, and also it is not keyable. Okay, so go back and keep it in the default shape. See, but before check you are getting the nodes or not, I mean this control vertex or not. Okay, yeah, I'm going to object mode now. Right, now I'm going to select this curve. Okay, and you can see the curve which is present in the root joint. Okay, and before that give proper name. This is Ik handle 1. You just name it Spline Ik. spline Ik, and this curve. Okay, you can see here it is showing as curve 1. Under root joint, the name is curve 1. You select it and give the naming as spline curve. Spline curve. Okay, now we will create a cluster with which we will attach the controller curves. Right, now how to create a cluster? Okay, the clusters are created for each and every vertex points. Okay, so that the cluster is associated with the vertex, and the cluster can be keyed. Okay, and the cluster can be given constraints. So I'm just going to select this spline curve. Okay, I'm going to select menu. There I can see the option cluster curve. What will happen is, if I click this option, this curve will generate, or clusters are being generated wherever the vertex points are there for this curve. Okay, simply I'm going to give curve, cluster curve. Yes, you can see cluster has been created. C, you can see the alphabet C. Okay, but see, you cannot zoom in or zoom out. Okay, the size of the cluster will be visible only in the same size. Zoom in or zoom out. Okay, you cannot change the visible size of the cluster. Okay, you can select it. It is showing cluster handle 1, cluster handle 2, cluster handle 3, cluster handle 4. So this cluster handle 1, okay, the cluster handle 2, all these things are created out of what? Out of the vertex points which are created or which are present within the curve. So that is how we create clusters for the existing nodes. Okay, and now after creating the clusters, okay, we need to give connectivity or constraints. Okay, we need to give connectivity or constraints. Before that, you check all the clusters working perfect. Okay, okay, for this cluster, okay, this action we may not need. Okay, so we will see what all we are going to do with this. Okay, so now I'm going to create animation controllers, and I'm going to attach those animation controllers or constrain or give connectivity with these clusters. Okay, let me show you how to do it. Like, go to the side view, and yes, go to the side view. See, before creating the animation controllers, okay, we need to bring the cluster out of the skeleton or the bone. You can see the cluster is present within the bone. Okay, it is inside the bone. Okay, so we need to bring it out, but we are not going to change, or we are not going to damage the pivot point. Okay, without changing the pivot point, we are going to bring out these clusters. Okay, it means the cluster handle. Okay, you just listen carefully. This cluster is there. See, That cluster is a representation, that C is a representation of the cluster present here. We are going to move only this alphabet C, but the influence will be there. The influence will not be moved out of this place. Only this alphabet cluster C, that will be moved out, because once when we are going to give connectivity to the controller curves, it won't be comfortable when this cluster is present inside of the joints. Okay, so for bringing this cluster representation alphabets outside, okay, just listen carefully. I'm going to see, I'm going to select this cluster, and the influence will be here exactly. Only this C, that I'm going to bring outside. So how to do that? Okay, before creating animation controller, we need to see this. So how to do that? Okay, I will show you. Before that, turn on all the selection. Okay, because we have turned on only the curves and all the other things cannot be selected, right? So I'm going to select the cluster. Oh, the problem is all the other things are getting selected. Okay, now what to do? I am turning off all the other selection elements and I am going to keep turned on only the deformers. Okay, only the deformers. Okay, you can see here, select a deformation object. Click on that. Now you can select only the deformers. Cluster is a form of a deformer. Deformer means already there is a form of node existing in the name or in the form of vertex. Vertex is one form of a node for this spline, and it is deformed into a cluster. Using this cluster, we are going to give connectivity. So this cluster comes under deformer. Okay, you can see a menu here called deform. In this also you can see cluster and all these things. Okay, this cluster is different. Okay, here also cluster is there. This cluster is different. I mean, the application of this clusters are different. Okay, but the concept of the cluster is same. It can be represented for some other node. Okay, so that the originality of the node is not getting disturbed. Okay, now we have selected this cluster, right? And how to bring it outside? So for that, I'm going to the right view. So I'm just going to select the cluster here, cluster handle 4. I'm going to bring it outside. So mostly I'm going to bring it outside of the skin. Okay, this grid line is there. I will have somewhere near to this grid line as a reference point. I will bring that cluster to there. Okay, so now I'm going to open the attribute editor. See, I have selected one cluster. Control A, attribute editor. Okay, see, this is the channel box, you know, attribute editor, it is here. Click on the attribute editor. Now I need to move only this handle outside, but the influence will be there. So for that, there is something called origin. You can see the mouse pointer, origin. Okay, so keep your cursor within the box. Don't pull your mouse pointer outside. Keep it within this box. Press and hold control button. Press and hold control button in keyboard. Now I am pressing and holding my control button. Don't leave the control button. Left click on the mouse. Don't leave the mouse. Okay. Hold the control button and hold the left click and change the value. Okay, I'm changing the value, but I can see it is not coming out. Okay, so maybe that may be in z-axis. Okay, the value is not changing, so I'm going to select with a different axis. So select this cluster again in attribute editor. Again I am going to the origin, left click, and before that press control button, hold the control, left click and move the value. You can see the cluster is coming out up and down, but I want it outside, left and right. Okay, so again I'm going to give Control Z and reset it. Okay, again I'm going to select this cluster handle, control, press and hold the control button, click on this box, yes, and left click and move little bit within the box. You can see the cluster alone is coming out, but you can see the cluster is coming out, but the position is here. Okay, you can see the influence is here. So again I should select the other cluster. Okay, I'm going to do the same. Press and hold the control button, click here and move it straight. Okay, the next cluster, move it, click and hold control button and left click and move the cluster. Okay, so again last cluster. Okay, so click and hold the left click, sorry, control button, and using the left mouse button, yes, now we all have our cluster here. You can see if I select my cluster, only that handle is here, but the influence is there. Okay, now it will be easy for us to give connectivity. Okay, see how to cross check. It is perfectly there. See, still the influences same like what it is like when it is being created. Okay, now I'm coming to the right view. You know how to create animation controllers, right? So for this cluster handles, I'm going to create a different shape of a cluster, sorry, of a controller curve. So for that I'm taking curves. I'm going to curves here. Okay, so I'm going to take EP curve tool. Okay, so here I'm going to press X and I'm going to create some kind of shape later which we can adjust. Oops, it looks unproportionate and horrible. Anyway, we will adjust this. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it somewhere here. I'm going to select this and I'm going to bring it somewhere here. That's all. Fine, I have got a arrow mark. Okay, now I'm just going to resize it. Before that, you can see the pivot point is somewhere in the ground. So go to modify center pivot. Okay, then resize it, move it and keep it here exactly. Okay, to the cluster. Right, see, this is the problem. Whenever you zoom in or zoom out, you can feel the cluster is moving up and down. Okay, so approximately we can, so this, if this is the position which I'm going to rig my character, I'm going to keep it approximately somewhere near to the cluster. Okay, because when you zoom out or zoom in, the cluster will move up and down visually. Okay, but it will be there, the influence will be there. Okay, so this one I cannot select this curve. What happened? Because here I have turned off all the selection mask. Only deformation is turned on. Okay, now I'm going to turn on everything because my cluster is outside. So I can select the cluster separately, easily. Okay. And so for this curve, it is showing the name as curve. Okay. I'm going to give a name like Spline 1, Spline 1 control. Okay, now, or spline control 1 or spline 1 control. Okay, now I'm going to duplicate it, bring it down and keep it here. Spline 2 control. Okay, then control D, duplicate it, bring down. Spline 3 control, control D, duplicate it. Spline 4 control. Okay, now what we need to do, you know very well. Okay, so I'm going to select all the spline control curves and I'm going to delete the history and reset, or the freeze transformation, not reset transformation. Okay, so I'm going to select it and I'm going to edit and delete by type history. Okay, see, I will show you. I'm just going to give Control Z. I will show you what will happen if you delete by type history. Not doing that, if you are going to do delete all by type history. If you're going to give delete all by type history, you can see the clusters are getting deleted. Okay, so delete all by type history will delete history of all the elements and nodes created within this Maya scene. Okay, so be careful while choosing delete by type history and delete all by type history. Okay, Control Z, bringing it back. Okay, selecting all once again, going to the edit, delete by type history and going to modify give freeze transformation. Okay, yes, freeze transformation, that's all. Now there are few things we need to know before giving the connectivity. Okay, there is something called connection editor, which is new to you, I think so. With that we are going to give few connectivity, and along with the constraints we are going to give few connectivity. Okay, so first connectivity we will give through constraints, first set of connectivity. Okay, so I'm going to give connectivity here. See, for this cluster, you know very well IK handles do not have rotate option. Okay, you have done it in hands and legs. For hand and leg rotation we have used orient constraint with bones and other things. Okay, so for rotation here we have a different option, so we are going to use this movement. So for that I'm going to give translate. Okay, translate only we are going to use. For that I'm going to give which constraint? You know very well, only for translate it is point constraint. Okay, I'm going to select this controller curve and I'm going to shift to select this cluster. Okay, go to constraint, open the point constraint. Okay, reset the settings, maintain offset and give add. Okay, now you can see my controller curve is connecting the Spline Ik curve using the cluster, using the help of the cluster. Okay, so similarly I'm going to give few connectivities. Thereafter we will go to the new technique. Okay, so I'm going to click on here, click on this cluster, go to constraint and give point constraint. Again here and this, see this cluster, what is the, yes, okay, right. Okay, so I'm just going to click here, click on shift, select this cluster handle, go to constraint, give point constraint. And this one, for this one we have one more different option. Mostly this option, sorry, yes, this option will not be much useful because you can see the skin is having different kind of proportion when selected from here. Okay, under the hip it is having different kind of movement. See, the hip is not having complete influence. Okay, so for this we are having some other kind of connectivity that I will tell you, and before that we will give point constraint, because anyway we may have a need for a movement of little bit of this kind of poses where it can be an adjustable movement. It is like just to adjust the pose. Okay, so for that I will give connectivity. Okay, select this, shift select the cluster, go to constraint, give point constraint. Okay, right, it is done up to this. Okay, and you know one thing, it is like we used to rename everything. Okay, but not the cluster handle. No need to, because it is very clear we are having only 4 cluster handle, and it should have been done earlier, but it is not necessary. We are going to turn off the cluster handle hereafter. It is not needed. Okay, so do up to this. Now we will see after you finishing up to this. Now I will show you how to give rotation for the chest. See, this is chest movement. Okay, we have chest bone here. Okay, you can see chest 1. Okay, what is the working of the cluster? Chest 1 is moving but not rotating. Okay, so for that, and also for the hip, I need some rotation. It is in a different way. Okay, this is different. Okay, this is different. Okay, this is rotation of the entire body, and this is different. Okay, and some rotation which I'm going to show you, that is different. Okay, these two rotations we are going to use some other technique using the connection editor. Okay, now do up to this without any confusion. Okay, now we will see how to create connectivity for the chest rotation and the hip using connection editor. Go to Windows, go to General Editor. There you can see something called connection editor. Open that connection editor. Now what connectivity we are going to give with what attribute, what controller. Okay, so before that we will see some options within that Spline Ik. So when I'm selecting the Spline Ik, you can see in the channel box there are two options, roll and twist. Okay, I'm just minimizing this. I will just show you what is the difference between roll and the twist. What is the need of the roll and the twist? Okay, so I'm going to select the twist and I'm going to change the value. You can see the chest part is getting moved because the root of the cluster is here. So this is the base. From here to here it is getting twisted. The rope is getting twisted, and the roll is the entire rope is getting turned around. Okay, both may see little bit same, but I will show you the difference. Okay, you can see here when I'm selecting the roll, you can see this part of the mesh is getting affected. It means the entire cluster curve is being rotated or turned. Okay, now when I select twist, it is only to the end part of the cluster curve, not the entire cluster curve. Okay, I will show an example, like as a small example. I think I can show you to understand the difference between twist and the roll. I'm going to create a polycube. I'm going to bring it here. I'm going to make it bigger, and in this I think okay, see, I think I can add one more subdivision height, one more height I can add. Okay, see, I'm selecting the Spline Ik here. You can see the twist, how it works. The twist only in the top, how it works. The roll, the entire Ik curve, similar to see, I'm taking this part, and when I'm rotating it, okay, this is twist, or I can show you like this here. Okay, this is being twisted, this is twist. Okay, the root will remain unchanged, right? This is twist, and Control Z. Now going back to vertex face. Okay, I'm going back to Control Z. Yes, Control Z, original position. Now again I'm going to vertex face, and I'm selecting everything, and this entire thing is getting turned around. That is called roll. Okay, here what is the main difference in the roll option in Spline Ik and this example is, this roll, it is getting twisted, but the extension of the root joint is coming down all the way here, which is having IK handles 1 2 3 IK handle for one side, and the other 3 IK handle for the other side. Okay, other constraints and all these things are here, so it cannot be completely rolled. Okay, it is getting some deformation in the skin, but I hope you understand. In this case it is called the roll. Okay, so this is the difference between twist and the roll. Okay, now we will see the connectivity. I'm deleting that thing. Okay, now I'm going to take the connection editor, open the connection editor. So I'm going to create one controller curve for the chest. Okay, so I'm going to create curves, one controller curve, make it bigger, bring it to the top, place it somewhere near to the chest. Okay, now give it a proper shape, give it a different shape. Okay, so I'm going to control vertex, and I'm going to select this two control vertex, and I'm going to change the shape little bit. Okay, and I'm going to change the shape little bit. Okay, okay, I feel this shape is okay. Now I'm going to, as usual, go to edit and delete by type history, and give proper naming, chest underscore control. Okay, now, oh yes, chest underscore control. Okay, chest control. Okay, now this chest control, bring it and put it under root control. Okay, and see, I want this action, I want this action. Okay, and before that I want this action, twist. So I'm going to connect it now. Select the chest control. You can see some random values here. I have changed the shape. So to clear that, go to modify and give freeze transform. Okay, yes, that's all. Now I'm going to bring everything, I mean what are all the attributes above this chest, the shoulder and the arm controls and the pole vector controls, everything I'm going to bring under the chest control. Okay, so in this outliner I'm going to click on this left arm control, shift select right arm control, shift select left shoulder, shift select right shoulder, shift select left arm, shift select right arm pole vector. Middle click and drag it on, put it on chest control. Okay. Now when I select chest control, it should come like this. Okay. You can see there is a transformation in the jaw. Okay. Don't bother about that. That is a different thing. Okay. We need to give one more bone for the face. We need to select the paint weight tool and all these things. Don't bother about that. See, this hierarchy will work like this. Okay, this is fine. When you rotate the chest, the shoulder should work like this. Okay. After working like this, I'm coming to the front view almost, and I'm showing you the rotate Y of this chest. Okay, it is feeling like almost twist, but it is not exactly the twist. Okay, see, it is feeling like twist, but you can see some difference. I will show you. I'm going to select the spline Ik again. Here the twist is there. You can see the twist. Okay, twist of the upper body. We need this twist. Right. This is rotation. This is complete rotation. Okay. We need this twist. So for that, we are going to connect it with a different controller which is present in the back. That is this spine 2 control. Okay, this spine 2 control is having only this option. Okay, and this chest controller is having this entire rotation option. So similar to this rotation, but the influence should be within only this body, that is twist. So I'm going to select this spline 2 control. In this connection editor, you know where it is. Okay, go to Windows, General Editor and Connection Editor. Okay, right. I didn't select anything. I'm just going to reload left, reload right, do things like that. Okay, I'm going to select this. This is the controller. You know the driver driven concept in set driven key. Same thing, but with a different kind of working method. This is driver, this is driven. Okay, you just can compare like that. So I'm going to select any control, and if I'm going to reload it, that control is getting loaded. You can see here I have selected spline 1, give reload left, spline 1 reloaded. Spline 2 I'm going to give excuse me, spline 2 reload left. You can see spline 2 is loaded. Okay, now by default it will be like this. Okay, when you open a connection editor and if you click on anything and if you reload it, if you load it, you can see n number of attributes. Okay, what are all the possible attributes available for that control? Everything will be available to see, but the problem here is we need to find what is the attribute we are going to connect. Okay, so only keyable attributes. So for that we are going to click here in the left display, show non-keyable attributes. So that is why we are seeing uncomfortably these many attributes. Turn off that. So we will be able to see only the attributes which are going to be helpful for to key, which is available here. Okay, same thing here in the right side. I am going to load the spline Ik. Select the spline Ik, reload right. Okay, now here same problem, too many number of attributes. So again I am going to write display, turn off show non-keyable. Sorry, yes, turn off show non-keyable. Now only keyable options will be visible. Okay, now okay, here I have selected spline 1 control. Okay, but I should select spline 2 control. Okay, so I'm going to select spline 2 and I am going to reload the left once again. So spline 2 is there. Click on rotate. Okay, we saw which axis the rotation should be. Okay, here in this controller curve, the chest is rotating in rotate Y. Similarly, we need the twist. Okay, so rotate Y I need. Okay, not all these options. We will turn off all these options after giving connectivity. We will turn off lock and hide selected all the unnecessary attributes after giving connectivity. Okay, now rotate Y, and which attribute I told in spline Ik? Twist. Okay, so rotate Y and twist. Just simply click, do only one left click, that's all. You can see the yellow color influence. You can see it is being connected. Also you can see the letters are changed into italic mode. In the sense, the connectivity has been applied. Now I am selecting this spline 2 control, and now I am going to check. Yes, the twist has been applied. Okay, good. I hope all of you understood this. Again, now we are going to give connectivity for the roll. Okay, I told the difference between twist and the roll. Okay, here we are having one controller curve. Okay, this is for all and everything, the root control. Now here this control I told which for this action may be needed very less. Okay, this action it is needed maximum for the purpose of twist, sorry, the roll. Okay, I showed you with an example of the cube the difference between twist and the roll. Now I'm going to select this controller curve, reload left, and already spline Ik is loaded here. Spline Ik is loaded in the right. Anyway, I'm just going to select it. Then I'm going to click reload right once again. Okay, now again go to rotate. Which axis I need? Rotate X not needed, rotate Z not needed, rotate Y. Okay, so rotate Y. I'm selecting rotate Y here, and here I'm going to simply click on the option roll. I'm not going to press select or shift or control anything. Simply click on the roll, that's all. Okay, when you select the spline Ik, you can see the roll is getting some input. Okay, so now when I select it and I can try to roll it, rotate it, you can see the entire body, it is the roll is happening. Okay, this is how we need to use connection editor give connectivity for twist and roll, for the spline Ik, for the chest and the hip. Okay, and see, this is different and this is different. Okay, so this spline Ik is also being used to rig a tail of a lengthy tail of any animal or creature, something like that. Okay, so that thing we will see later. Now you try up to this, you finish like giving connectivity and setting proper hierarchy. Okay, setting proper hierarchy in the sense, see, this chest control should come under root control. Okay, right, and see, all this clusters, let it be there outside, no problem. Okay, because the clusters are getting input or getting connectivity from the spline curve. There is a curve called spline curve. Okay, and that connectivity is being controlled by this animation controllers. Okay, so it is simple that we are going to move this animation controllers, click all these spline animation controllers, click middle mouse button and drag it and put it under master control. Okay, under master control, not under root control. Okay, now if I select, see, I'm closing this. Now if I select this master control, you can see the clusters are not inside the master control. Okay, see, anything under master control will have its own value as well as the global value of the master control, unless until the cluster is again being put under some other hip control or chest control, like that. Okay, see, nothing to confuse. See, it is very clear. I'm going to show you. Still we have connectivity for the cluster. Okay, see, this is master control, and you can see all the bone structures, bones and joints are outside of the master control. But if I move the master control, bones and joints are moving along with the master control without any problem, because they are having constraints, and followed by the constraints, it is constraints are controlled by the animation controllers. But when it comes to the clusters, clusters act as a third party connecting objects, connecting nodes. So we need to bring those clusters also inside the master control. Okay, I'm selecting all the cluster handles, click on middle mouse button, put under master control. Okay, now when I select it, okay, everything is fine. When I select the master control, everything works fine, right? Let us check the other controls. Yes, the character is coming forward and down. Okay, everything, it is working fine. And see, it is like, this is fine. And this chest control, okay, this is fine. Okay, and see, this neck or something, like what, the upper joint or the lower joint of the head, okay, that is fine. And this control is working fine, and the twist is working fine for the rotate Y option, and there is no rotation option for this, so this is also working fine in its way. Okay, and this is working fine, but we can hide this translate attribute unless until we want this action because it is not so comfortable. It is little bit awkward. The main purpose of this is to give this role. Okay, this role. Okay, so then even everything is working fine, still we need to have to keep the hierarchy clean so that we can bring all this joins inside the IK handles inside the master control. Okay, I'm just going to shift select and I'm going to pull it and drag it under master control. Just keep in mind, don't put it under root control. Okay, it will take multiple number of influences. So put the spline IK, click middle mouse button, hold it and put it under the master control. Okay, now this is fine. We will see few additional things by the next class. This week only this video is for your class. After that, the next week we will see how to do the paint weight tool, then how to do the mouth shapes, how to bring mouth shapes. Okay, then after that we will see how to bring expressions. Okay, thanks.